Here's the 545 bucket saw build. It had a pretty beat up cylinder, and that I can't clean out of there. It's actually like distorted the lining. I doubt I'll catch that surface texture on camera, but it won't clean up. I tried. There's piston that come out of it. I got a Duke's piston and cylinder kit. First thoughts on it is, I didn't think that they chamfered anything because these edges were real sharp. But then I looked at the factory one and it's the same way. So I'd say this was, on par with the factory stuff. As far as how it was put together, put bevels in there just because it made me feel better. And I cleaned up the lowers a little bit. I don't know if this saw runs, so getting it together before I go any further with performance work or anything along that route. This is something I started doing on pretty much all my builds. Is I put sandpaper on top of the piston, run it down in there to clean up the chamber, the squish band, because every now and then you get some high and low spots. And I'd rather that all be even, if it'll focus for you. There you go. And you can still see in the edge of that band on the inside, it's kind of thin there and a little bit thicker over here. I run that grit of sandpaper through it and I step it up to like 300 and it comes out pretty clean. But being that thing is possibly destined for performance work down the road, I'd just rather get that step out the way now. And there it is, cleaned up before I actually flush it out, brake cleaner. But you can see the texture in that band is a lot finer than it was. And I didn't get everything out, but I got the edges even, so I'm not really don't really care if that chamber's a little off kilter compared to the rest of it. Gonna go with the factory wrist pin here because the wall is thinner and it looks like it's machined out of tool steel. This other one just looks kind of ground. Piston ring is on. I got the gasket smeared with a little Hylamar since I'm reusing it. Don't want any air leaks there. Circlips are in on both sides. I double check that always. You never want to leave one of them out. It's about to lube the piston, lube the bore, and throw this cylinder on after I swap the intake stuff over. So these cylinder bolts use a spacer, and I got 3 of the cylinder bolts in, and looking for the 4th spacer, couldn't find it. So I looked in the old cylinder, and that hole's pretty big, and hey, there's the other spacer, so it was hiding from me. Starting to look more like a saw now. Got the clutch on, it's not very tight. Got the recoil on. We are building compression. I'm going to open up this side of the carburetor. Forgot the sprocket. That's got to go on there. Going to open up this side of the carburetor. Just check, make sure things are clear in there and it's not full of crap. Because I kind of remember it being a bear to put on. Yeah, so we're not too far away from firing it up. Got to throw on the exhaust. A few things. We're trying to fire it up. I don't know if this thing runs or not. The diaphragm on the carburetor is a little stiff, but I don't think it's still moving. Normally when they're like bad, you touch them and they crack and split. carburetor's nice and clean. The diaphragm isn't as bad as I thought it was either. It's still pretty pliable. It just has a lot of distortion to it. A little bit of trash on this side. I'll pull that diaphragm off, clean it. But the main thing is my pickup screen, nice and clean. I already checked the fuel filter in the tank. It's clean too. Being 100% honest here, I don't totally remember how this goes back together, so I've just been taking my time with it. I think I have to put this air horn and this piece on together. The primer bulb here is busted. I don't know if that means I have to get a whole new air horn or air intake, or if this is replaceable. I would think that'd be replaceable. Yeah, it just snaps in. I'll have to root around the garage and see if I have one. Okay, it's all back together other than the top cover. That's just these little snaps, but I'm going to try and fire it up. Without the top cover on, everything looks to be as it should, other than my primer bulb, which probably ain't going to prime. Doesn't feel like it's pulling anything, just feels like I'm tearing it apart. So, oh yeah. Definitely need a new one, but I think I can get to it without pulling the intake apart. So I'm gonna dump a little bit of fuel down here and see if it pops off. Yeah, I pulled on it a bunch of times, poured fuel in the intake, couldn't get it to pop off. So now it's time for a spark test. Don't know if I can hold y'all here and do that at the same time. Yeah, maybe. That might be intermittent, but it also might be because it's not grounded very well. I'm going to put a little bit in the cylinder and try that. The other possibility, this thing was fried when I got it, so it could have an air leak. So we might be doing further diagnostics on it. And this could be, there's nothing in the carburetor. So we're relying strictly on, what raw fuel gets dumped in there to run the machine. Alright, I can't get it to pop off, so I'll continue this tomorrow at the shop. I got it running.